Live? Live. There we go. Wednesday, June 26th. Split slate today, sort of. We would have been pretty close to doing a live before lock show, but DraftKings has the 6-gamer. FanDuel once again split 3 and 3. Yahoo would have been the full 15, so that makes it kind of difficult to talk about 3 separate things in 1 hour. So we're gonna hit on 9 games on the main slate. No weather issues. No good pitching. I think tonight's gonna be pretty weird. Adam, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Looking forward to not having a 15-game slate. Those just kind of they're fun. I think when you're making lineups because there's so many different ways you can go, and then as the slate's going on, I just always end up frustrated with them.
Last night was pretty frustrating as well. Just a lot. I've got the $15 on DK up in lineup study. Just a lot of weird lineups at the top. We had a 5-man naked Padres stack take down the 100K. What up, cheese? And then a 2-man Pods, 2-man Giant stack coming in second, which is pretty obvious combination to land on.
Yeah. Did you say there was no good pitching on the slate?
I did. I mean it from a standout perspective, not necessarily there aren't good players.
Okay.
I see Minor and Corbin and Morton and Boyd and I see those guys as bunched together, but there's not a Max Scherzer at the top that is a different genre of pitcher.
Okay, yeah, because I was pulling it up and I was just expecting to see one of those dumpster fire slates where I hate every single pitcher.
Yeah, I just don't like anyone, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah, let me walk that back a little bit. It's tricky, man. It's tricky. Yeah, just looking at the stacks from last night, it was basically hit the Padres and hope you have the right 2-pitcher combination. Hope you had enough Chavez and Cortez because that is the combination you needed to get to the top. One of those 2 goons.
Chavez pissed me off because I should have had some, but I ended up not having any. But I liked the spot obviously, and I was gonna have some if Cortez hadn't opened up, but it was just okay, why am I going to pay more money for a guy throwing 70 to 80 pitches? I didn't know he was going to have the most efficient start possible and give up 1 hit and still strike out 7 on those 79 pitches.
I can't what kind of odds would you have had to give yesterday to say that Jesse Chavez would get 29.25 DK points?
I would have assumed that I was just completely wrong on his pitch count.
Yeah, that's true. Even still, 29 and a quarter.
Right, yeah. But I mean,
it's
he has been pretty good this year, and the Tigers do suck. So, I could see, I thought there was a good chance he'd have a good game. We had talked about it on the podcast with EMAC, but it was just how good of a game can you have if you're going to throw 70, 75 pitches? I guess the answer is you can still score 30 points.
Yeah, exactly. Bumgarner with the big one. Scherzer made himself relevant on a day where everybody wanted to pay for bats, 36.4. And that was kind of it. I mean, David Price had a nice game, and he was basically irrelevant at the top of contest structures. So,
to be fair, he was also very low on.
Yeah, 9.5%, just barely ahead of Chavez. Yeah, Chalk Bumgarner worked out pretty well for everybody. Chalk Cortez as well.
Yep. Cortez at one point had, I guess he ended up at 17, but at one point he, during the game, was at 18 or 19 or something. And then gave up runs.
And there was a decent chance that you and I weren't going to play him at all up until the 5:15.
Yeah, really glad that someone asked that question.
Yeah, it didn't even cross my mind. And then it was just oh yeah, not only should we be playing him, but he's going to be one of the chalk options.
Yeah, well, it had crossed my mind. I knew that he was in my projections and stuff. I just didn't realize that he wasn't in Fantasy Cruncher as a pitching option. So I was just okay, I guess I'm not getting into Cortez, whatever.
Right.
But
same. Yeah. Okay, let's do the normal plugs. MLB Strategy is the promo code. One big word. Use that code to get 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. So as long as you're picking a monthly package, you can use the promo code MLB Strategy. Come sign up. Also, we are brought to you by Yahoo Sports. Yahoo is the presenting sponsor of this show, of the Deeper Dive, and of the Early Bird podcast. I'm going to drop the link into chat right now to Emacs Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article. In that article, you will find a link to sign up at Yahoo. Follow that link and use the promo code AWESEMO. You can get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. Yahoo should be the place that you're starting your day. They've been running the no management fee contest basically every day for baseball. $3 to get in, 1,500 entries. There's already 1,250 in there. So if you're looking to get into this contest, you only have 250 spots left. This is pretty much filled by lunchtime every single day. And it's the best contest in the industry. You should go out of your way to get into it. The golf version is already filled. They have excellent contest structures as well everywhere else. They don't pay out $50K to first, $10K to second, $5K to third like some other places right now who are trying to run contests in the morning that are basically one big winner take all. You don't get
Which
that
are really
here.
fun when you win them, but really
Yes.
frustrating otherwise.
Yes. Little bit not as fun when you don't. When you finish sixth and still finish down money somehow.
Yeah, at least it makes it easy mentally to like take the GPP first or last approach, because I really don't want to get like fifth.
No, you don't feel better about that one. You just feel aggravated.
Right.
All right, 9 games to go. We've got, from what I could tell, no weather issues. We also, this is going to be a lot really similar to yesterday. Did all the lines come out yet? Yeah, they have. When I woke up this morning, there were 4 games that had lines compared to the other 5 that didn't. I was just like, what? Like, how do I prep for something when more than half of the information is just simply gone? So I'm going to update these right now. Any holistic thoughts to the slate before we get started, just to fill some dead air right now?
But I mean, no, not really. Like you had said, all the pitching at the top, there are good arms, but most of them grade out pretty similarly. There's some high upside, relatively high risk mid-range guys that work. But I have a lot of lineups where I'm taking a chance on 2 mid-range pitchers because I think they do have high upside, guys like Pivetta and Zach Gallen, Yu Darvish, guys like that in questionable spots. And then as far as the cheap end of pitching goes, not a whole lot. Maybe Adrian Hauser is interesting, but outside of that, not a whole lot down there. So
it's bad.
I think it'll be an interesting roster. And it's not even that it's bad. It's that today they really don't exist. Like yesterday you could at least say, oh, okay, Chavez is there, Cortez is there. But like today there's 3 pitchers under 6K.
Oh God, it's so brutal. And they're real hard to pitch.
Yeah, and one of them's Wade LeBlanc.
Oh God.
One of them's facing the Astros.
It's going to be really different compared to yesterday.
Yeah.
Really, really, really different.
It is nice though that we don't have like a Wrigley win game today, because that just totally ruined that 7-game slate on Monday.
It really did, and not having that is perfect for today. I think the total's like 9.5 or something. I'll take that over 12 any day.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I got everything updated, so let's do this. Putting the timestamp in, doing my best to remember. I attached them to the podcast yesterday. Yay me. Phillies and Mets, 5.7 run implied total for the Phils, 4.9 for the Mets, 58% chance to win for Philadelphia. Nick Pivetta going for the Phillies, Jason Vargas going for the Mets. Vargas getting no ownership, but here we are. Pivetta, 22% ownership on Yahoo, 14 on FanDuel, 25 on DraftKings. I'm going to say right now, I drastically like the Mets more than I like Nick Pivetta.
I really like Pivetta at this price tag.
Okay.
His strikeout stuff's just too good for a $7,300 DraftKings price tag. The Mets aren't terrible. They do have left-handed power. They do have Pete Alonso. If Pavetta's getting a lot of ownership, I agree you can go to the Mets. But Pavetta's upside is just too high for that price tag, I think.
Yeah, to be fair, I got 17% Pivetta. I ran a dummy DK crunch earlier. So it's not that I think that Pivetta is just off the table. But if he is getting owned 25% in Philadelphia on a day like today, I'm just as happy being double the field on the Mets as well and checking off both boxes. And that is exactly what's happening. I have 13% aggregate ownership to the Mets. Do you think that 25% number for Pivetta is too high? Too
I
low?
don't think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, it seems probably about right. Like I wouldn't say it's too low because he is in a dangerous park. He is facing an offense that isn't bad. But when you look at the options around him, you have Wainwright against the Athletics. You don't really strike out. You have Gallen against the Nats, which is a tough matchup. Darvish against the Braves. Where else are you going that's better?
Maybe to a pitcher in Washington, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I agree with you're talking about Gallen, I assume.
Yes.
Like he's good. I agree, but like the Nats are a really good offense too.
They are.
So it's like I'm gonna have Gallen too. It's just that I don't think he's a better play in a vacuum than Pivetta is, and so I'm not super excited to just be like making a bunch of my Pivetta into him.
And this takes me back to what I said to open the show. Like it's just a lot of guys that I don't have a ton of confidence in, and right now that's bearing out in Mets ownership as well as some Pivetta. We'll see where we end up closer to lock. I think we're both on the same page that we're not playing Jason Vargas.
I wouldn't expect to be getting much there. No, the Phillies have like a 6 implied run total, which I believe is the highest on the slate.
I have them tops right now.
Yeah, just ahead of the Astros. So, yeah, I mean, he's had some good starts this year. He's a really weird pitcher in terms of his results. It's always like it feels like he always gets like bombed or has a great start, and so he ends up with like the numbers that you would expect. But it's never that he actually like has a mediocre game, kind of, which is weird.
I feel like he never has 7 points. He has like -12 or like 29.
Yeah, exactly. But his like actual like stats for the season suggest he should be getting like 10.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I have him projected for 9.8, but I think 0 and 20 are way more likely.
Right, exactly. But I mean, he's facing a lot of right-handed bats in this lineup. For the season, he's gotten a bit lucky against them. He's allowed a 318 WOBA and a 161 ISO. He has a 347 expected WOBA and a 209 expected ISO. And then going into Philadelphia, that's certainly not going to help depress the power numbers for him either. So not a lot of strikeouts against righties. I would just rather go to Philadelphia bats.
As would I. Phillies bats tops for me on the slate. Hard for it to not be with that run total, with the matchup against Vargas, the way that right-handed power plays up in Philadelphia. There's really not anything that I don't like here. Anything stand out as a negative to you from Philly?
No.
I hear you, man.
Yeah, I mean they're priced reasonably still, also, which helps.
Do I have what is happening here? Why don't I have the right name in here? This was correct at one point in time, but I'm whiffing on the Astros starter. I will get to it when I get to it. Favorite bat in this entire game?
Hoskins.
I'm cool with that. Actually, you know what? It's probably Hoskins, but Pete Alonso is close. That dude's good. He just happens to be 5,400.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's really good. No question.
Yeah. Just a little bit too expensive in comparison to Hoskins. Just in this game. All right, keeping it moving. Tigers and Rangers. 4.5 run implied total for the Tigers. 4.4 for the Rangers. 51% chance to win for Detroit. Matt Boyd going for the Tigers. Mike Minor going for the Rangers. Oh, God, there's so much exposure here. 44% to Boyd on Yahoo. 24 on FanDuel. 28 on DraftKings. I have no issue here. I think that Matt Boyd, with his price tag, is the best pitcher on the slate. I'm curious where you stand.
Yeah, I really like Boyd here too. Just a really good pitcher. He's at a reasonable price tag. This feels like the first start in a while. I didn't go back to look, but it just feels like the first start in a while where he's been on a slate that doesn't have like Max Scherzer and Garrett Cole, and B is in a favorable matchup. Texas against left-handed pitching this season, their active roster has struck out 27.8% of the time with an 80 WRC plus. Really favorable matchup there for Boyd. And then, of course, he's just a really good pitcher. Also, he has the second highest strikeout percentage on this slate, just barely behind Charlie Morton. But his walk percentage is basically half of Morton's. His K minus BB percentage is higher than every single pitcher pitching today, with the exception of Chris Sale. He's really good, and he's in a good spot.
Yeah. He should just probably be more expensive relative to some of these guys. Now, he's the chalk, but let's be clear. Chalk is a different term. Boyd at 28, Corbin 25, Darvish 26, Pavetta 25, Gallen 23. Yeah, I mean, even Wainwright 19. There's chalk, but everybody is essentially the same. You're either owned or you're not. And I expect to have more Boyd than probably anybody else. So for me right now, he's my top guy. Mike Minor, 8% on Yahoo, 8% on FanDuel, 7% on DraftKings. Not getting as much love. Top of the salary tier on all three sites. Well, on two sites. He's second on Yahoo. What do you want to do with Mike Minor against the Tigers?
I mean, it's just really tough at that price tag, but he's a good pitcher. He's not as good as Boyd, I don't think. And he's, like on DraftKings, he's $1,000 more. So that's an issue. But the Tigers have the seventh highest active roster has the seventh highest strikeout percentage against left-handed pitching this season. They've been average in terms of production. You get Minor outside of Texas, which certainly shouldn't hurt. It's an interesting tournament play to me at that ownership because, I think that he is a really good pitcher. I just have trouble finding $1,000 for him over Boyd.
Agreed. It's just, I think Boyd is a better pitcher just in general, and he's $1,000 cheaper. He's $700 cheaper on FanDuel. He's $9 cheaper on Yahoo. He's just priced incorrectly.
Yeah, and he's in a better matchup.
Yep. That's the spot. Do you want offense in this game? I'm actually surprised that the totals aren't a little bit higher, but I guess that's what happens when they're the Tigers and the Rangers.
I was actually surprised how high they were.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like either team?
No. Castellanos at 3,700 is a quality value option. That's about all I have to say about hitters.
Sorry, you know what? It's going to be easier to just respond to this verbally. We got questions. Where is it? Why don't you guys provide more early content for Wednesdays and Thursdays? Well, one, these shows are free, so let's just start there. But two, the slate is 2 split 3-gamers on FanDuel, a 6-gamer on DraftKings, and all 15 games, or however many teams are actually playing today, if it's 14, whatever, on Yahoo. That's a really difficult thing to talk about.
Yeah, and not only is it a difficult thing to talk about, like it's
all the
really difficult to listen to and understand like what we're saying.
Yeah, and for those early games, by the time we say it, those lineups might be out by 11 o'clock anyway. It's impossible to give context on a player when the way that they should be owned is different across all 3 sites. If FanDuel had a 6-game early and DraftKings had a 6-game early, we would talk about a full 6-game early because it'd be a fantastic slate for the morning. It's just impossible to really verbalize that sort of stuff. If you have early slate questions, feel free to sign up for awesemo.com and join our premium Slack and ask those questions. For Yahoo chat or for YouTube chat, not all that important. Just has to be that way. It's too tough. It's too tough. Yeah, I hate this game so much. Gallo, I guess, is fine. Castellanos
like he hits lefties.
Is fine. I don't know.
Like, I mean, Gallo hits lefties well, but Boyd still has struck out 29% of lefties. He's held them to a 143 ISO. It's not like he's it's not like he's reverse splits or anything. He's just good against everyone.
Also, Early Bird Podcast. Totally forgot to mention that hits the early slate as well. So yeah, it's there. It's just not right now. Only Castellanos at 12% on DK is in double digits of ownership in this game. If anybody's curious about why there's not a lot of love here, it's just not a good spot.
Yeah, he's the only one that really stood out to me.
I don't have anything else.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and mention John Hicks on DraftKings is a $2,100 catcher.
Of course he is, and he's still only 7% owned.
Yeah.
That's nuts. You would expect that number to be higher just from like an optimization perspective. Still can't get to him. Is there another one out there? Maybe the Blue Jays on this
I mean,
slate.
unless you're counting Jeff Mathis.
Well, he's 21 on purpose.
Right.
He's
yeah,
probably
I mean,
overpriced.
Hicks only has 179 plate appearances against left-handed pitching since the start of 2017, but 175 ISO is fine, 329 mobile, 106 WRC plus. He's not a great hitter or anything like that, but he's not a minimum priced hitter.
Right. Ugh. Favorite Texas bat?
Andrews?
It's tough, right?
Yeah, I guess that was Andrews.
I'm fine with that. Shout out to El Negro Loco. He wants the shout out. He gave a really good plug for early slate content, so he deserves it. My dude. Keeping it moving. I'm really anxious to get your take here. Marlins and Nats, 3.4 run implied total. Damn it. I definitely didn't do the timestamp for the last game, so we'll be guessing. So it's so hard to reprogram my brain to do it. Even with the little timestamp reminder above the team name. Marlins and Nats, 3.4 run implied total for the Marlins, 4.2 for the Nats, 59% chance to win for Washington. Zach Allen going for the Marlins, Pat Corbin going for the Nats. Corbin 42% on Yahoo, 20 on FanDuel, 25 on DK. I like Corbin. I see this top crop as super similar. I would say that Corbin makes me feel most comfortable just because he's facing the Marlins in Miami and they are bad. But the price at 10.6 is pretty sizable. What do you want to do with Corbin first?
I think I probably will end up coming in under the field on him because for a couple of reasons. For one, I don't think he's as good as Matt Boyd is.
Agreed.
Two, he's more expensive than Matt Boyd is. Three, while the Marlins are bad, they're actually not as bad against left-handed pitching as Texas is. They don't give you a lot of strikeouts. They have the 25th highest strikeout percentage against left-handed pitching this season at 18.9%. On their active roster. They're really bad, don't get me wrong. They have a 298 WOBA and an 86 WRC plus, but Texas is at 303 and 80. So you're getting a strikeout percentage that's almost 10 percentage points higher for Texas. You're getting a WRC plus that's lower than the Marlins. You're getting a pitcher in Boyd that has about a 30% strikeout percentage compared to Corbin, who has struck out 23% of right-handed hitters this season, and he's going to be facing a right-handed heavy lineup. And Corbin's going to get ownership. So basically everything that I would look for points to me just getting a bunch more Boyd at the expense of Corbin.
I'm with you. I feel the same way. I just prefer Boyd, and that's just because of the way that these guys are shaking out. Corbin at 25% ownership, Morton at 11. I'd rather just flip-flop the numbers when push comes to shove. Or, even Odorizzi at 12%. I'd be happy to get higher there. I just don't see the need to go that high on Corbin today.
No, me neither. I have Boyd projected higher than Corbin by not a huge margin, but by enough to where, assuming people are going to roster Corbin because they automatically roster guys against the Marlins. I mean, okay, so Vince Velasquez was 15% owned the other day against the Marlins at 8,700, not having thrown more than 50 pitches in 2 months. So people are clearly going to go to Patrick Corbin because that's what they do.
Yeah.
So it's really unlikely that you're going to get a massive ownership gap between Boyd and Corbin. So I would rather just have a bunch more invested in Boyd and hope that, I projected him correctly.
Yeah. I have Corbin actually 0.3 of a point ahead of him. But just looking at some other stuff, it'll push Boyd to the top for me.
Yeah. And I mean, so just even look at some other stats that I like to look at. If you look at PCRA, Corbin's at 3.87 this season, which is good, but Matt Boyd is at 3.01, which is top 10 out of all qualified starters. So it's, and then, the strikeout percentage, like we already mentioned, is way higher. It's just not super comparable for me. Boyd has the 15th highest called strike plus swinging strike percentage this season. Corbin is at 40th. So Boyd in pretty much every stat has just been a lot better.
This has nothing to do with this slate right now, but I want to hit you with this trivia question. I'm positive that you were not listening to Live Before Lock to start the day yesterday, right? You did not hear me ask Jake a trivia question.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay. Who do you think has the most home runs in the last 365 days in baseball?
Cody Bellinger?
That's the same answer as Jake. Holy shit. So it's Yelich. He has 55. He's outpacing everybody by 10. That's not the trivia question. Who do you think is second? It's not Bellinger. Spoiler alert.
I was going to be really mad if I changed my answer. So you said Yelich is at 55?
Yeah.
I feel like I should know it.
I mean, yeah, he hit 45 home runs. It's not like he's some ghost.
Yeah. I'm Chris Davis.
He's third. It's Hunter Renfroe.
Wow.
Here's what's even crazier. So I'm going to read off some of the runs scored numbers for these top 10 guys. Yelich, 130. Davis, 91. Bregman, 114. 90. 114. 110. 109. 101. 112. That's the top 10. Hunter Renfroe has scored 68 runs, and he's hit 45 home runs. That's
insane. And that's what happens when you play for the Padres. Not so much even now, but last year when they still weren't very good at hitting.
Yeah.
Not that they're good at hitting now either, but
he's only scored 23 runs that didn't come from from him hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
Yeah, that's like the inverse of I don't remember if it was you or EMAC, the Justin Verlander, like total home runs allowed, but also total runs allowed this year.
I actually think it was Laffy.
It might have been.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it was EMAC on the pod, but it could have been Laffy. Maybe it was Laffy.
I have no memory.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it was like 19 home runs allowed and like 40 runs or something.
Right. It's insanity. So shout out to Hunter Renfroe for getting it done himself and by himself only, apparently. Okay, so we need to talk about the Marlins. Zach Allen. 26% ownership on Yahoo at $31. 5% on FanDuel at $7,800 and 23% on DraftKings at $7,100. The 23% number surprised me a little bit. I just assumed that I was going to end up being high on him. But the fact that he is going completely unowned, essentially, on FanDuel was really interesting to me. What do you think of Gallen here? Obviously a difficult spot.
I'd have interest on like the two pitcher sites. Is he like really cheap on FanDuel?
He's 7,800. So Boyd is 94. You've got Darvish and Pivetta 74 and 71, but they're getting a little bit of love.
Yeah, I wouldn't have much interest on FanDuel.
Okay.
On the two pitcher sites, I would have some, but again, it's just a tough spot. I mean, the Nats. I mean, it's a good park, but the Nats, for one, are a pretty decent offense, but two, this version of their lineup just doesn't have a lot of strikeouts. Turner, Eaton, Rendon don't strike out a lot. I guess it does open up a little bit if you get Gomes in there instead of Suzuki, but Dozier's not a high strikeout guy either. I think Gallen's good, and I have no issue going to him at that price tag, but I'm probably coming in underweight if he's actually 25% owned.
Okay. So he has averaged 6.5 innings in his AAA starts this year, over 19 starts or 17 starts or something like that. I gave him 6 innings in this spot. I don't know if I'm just being a little too generous here. I'm really intrigued by the fact that he can go deep in this game, and that's sort of what's driving him to be more interesting for me. Do you think that he's significantly less likely to go deep now that he's up?
So, I mean, the issue I would have with that is it's not like he's throwing 140 pitches at AAA or something. He only threw over 100 pitches he threw over 100 pitches 3 times. He threw 100 pitches once. So in like the vast majority of his starts, he wasn't even throwing 100 pitches. He was just really, really efficient against AAA hitters in getting them out, and that's why he was going deep in the games. So it's not like the Marlins are just saying like, hey, we think this guy's Nolan Ryan and he can throw as many pitches as we want. Like he's going to throw like 90 to 100 pitches.
Yeah.
And so you're basically projecting him to be very, very efficient against a major league offense now.
Fingers crossed. Best I can do. I'm going to end up with him here, certainly on FanDuel more than the 5% he's showing. I assumed that I was going to be really high on him on DK, but if he's at 23%, I assume that I just end up somewhere in that neighborhood. I certainly want him more than Adam Wainwright if they're comparably owned.
Yeah, I mean, I have them projected like within a point of each other.
So I have Galen 3 points ahead of him, but again, like I said, I have him at 6 innings. I don't know how much of a haircut I need to give him there. Maybe 5 2/3 is more realistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's a perfectly fine play in the context of this slate.
Yeah, he's just another guy in a sea of guys, basically.
Right, like he's talented. It's just not a great spot. But at 7,100, it's also pretty difficult to really disappoint unless he just gets lit up.
Very true. Wouldn't shock me either. What do you think about bats in this game? I don't really have much interest in either team. And I guess when I say this out loud, I don't have much interest in the Nationals.
Yeah, no, I mean, neither do I. Gallen, I do think is good. So, and it's not a good park for hitters. If you wanted to take a shot at like Matt Adams at a reasonable price tag, I would think that's fine. The Nats as a stack, of course, have upside, but they also have one of the lowest implied run totals on the slate in a tough park for hitting. So I don't have a lot of interest in bats here.
Perfect. Keeping it moving. Cardinals and A's. Cardinals 5.3 run implied total. A's 4.6. 57% chance to win for the Cards. Adam Wainwright going for St. Louis. Daniel Mengden going for Oakland. Mengden getting no ownership. Wainwright 13 on Yahoo, 6 on FanDuel, 19 on DraftKings. I think I could safely say right now that if this ownership holds, Adam Wainwright will be my biggest fade of a pitcher today.
Yeah, I won't. I don't think I'll get to that much ownership on him. I was thinking he'd be lower owned and that he would be a potential pivot spot for me. But I can just tell by looking at my early numbers, I don't have him projected and high enough that I would expect to get over 20% on DraftKings. Like I do think it's a fine spot for him. He's been really good against righties this year. He struck out 24.3%. He's allowed a 122 ISO, a 278 WOBA, and you're getting 6 righties, including the pitcher, probably or 6 righties plus the pitcher, probably.
Yeah.
In the Oakland lineup. But Oakland still isn't a high strikeout team. Their active roster against righties this year strikes out about 21% of the time. Their league average in terms of production. They do get a nice park boost here going into St. Louis. So if you told me that Wainwright was coming in, that like Zach Allen was 20% and Wainwright was coming in at like 5, I would say that I was probably going to get overweight on Wainwright. But if he's coming in around 20 also, I think it's most likely that I just pound more Pivetta.
Okay. If you see Adam Wainwright at 20% ownership, what do you think about A's bats?
I think that as a full stack, they'd be fine. But my preferred approach would be to just have a lot of Matt Olson. Like a lot of Matt Olson.
No issues there. I'd be happy to have a bunch of Matt Chapman or Chris Davis as well. Just Chris Davis is still 3,900.
Chris Davis may not be in the lineup either.
There you go.
But yeah, so I mean, I mentioned Wainwright's numbers against righties this year. Against lefties, he struck out 16.3%. So that's 8 percentage points lower than his number against righties. He's allowed a 256 WOBA and a 411 or 256 ISO and a 411 WOBA. So pretty drastic splits there for Wainwright. And then you're getting Matt Olson at a really cheap price tag with a ton of power.
256 ISO against lefties?
Yep.
That is higher than what Steamer projects Matt Olson at, for reference. And Matt Olson is obviously a big time power hitter.
Yeah. And for like to be fair, it's a 192 expected ISO, so still very high, but has probably gotten a bit unlucky.
I mean, either way.
Right, yeah. It's still allowing a lot of power to lefties and not striking them out.
St. Louis plays a lot better to left-handed power than right-handed power as well. So another thing to keep an eye on, especially with Matt Olson coming in at just 6% ownership on DraftKings.
Yeah. Don't sleep on Jurickson Profar either. I mean, he's a $3,700 second baseman on DraftKings.
Yeah, that's a good point. These teams not getting really any love. More ownership right now going to the Cards than the A's. Do you want to get to St. Louis here against Mengden?
They're cheap and they have talent, so I think it's fine. I've always thought Mengden should be better than he is, but it hasn't really translated at all. So the one thing that does stand out is that he really hasn't allowed power at all this season. If you go back to last season, so we get a bigger sample, he's allowed a 183 ISO to righties, 136 to lefties. His expected ISO is much higher to lefties, though, so probably a bit lucky there. 215 expected ISO to lefties, 186 to righties. But so far this year, 106 ISO, 174 expected ISO to righties, no power at all to lefties. So I don't know. I think that price, a lot will come down to ownership. Like if people are going to flock here because they're cheap and they can get, Boyd plus Corbin or something, then I'd probably come in underweight. If people are going to ignore the Cardinals for some reason, then I would be fine getting there.
Okay. Favorite Cardinals bet?
Carpenter.
Okay.
Goldschmidt. Carpenter or Goldschmidt.
It might be Paul DeJong too.
Yeah. Those are the three.
It's always one of those three. You can throw a dart as far as I'm concerned.
Favorite hitter in the game, though, is definitely Olsen.
Agreed. 100%, especially if he's going basically unowned.
Yeah.
3,200 on FanDuel also still not a problem, but he's 14% owned there. Weird game. All right, let's head to Chicago. No Wrigley win game today. 4.9 run implied total for the Cubs, 4.5 for the Braves, 54% chance to win for Chicago. Yu Darvish going for the Cubs, Dallas Keuchel going for Atlanta. Darvish 22, 12, and 26% ownership across the three sites on my screen. Keuchel 3, 3, and 5. Let's just start with Darvish. What are your thoughts here attacking Atlanta in Chicago?
So is like every pitcher just 25% owned today?
Pretty much.
Okay, because every time we get to a new game, I'm just like, oh, this will be the pivot. And then you're like, he's 25% owned. Yeah, so I mean, it's a tough spot for Darvish. He still walks way too many guys. He gives up too many home runs. You have a really good Atlanta team that doesn't strike out and has power. Darvish does have really good strikeout stuff. He's at 26.3% this season, which puts him basically the same as Patrick Corbin, slightly ahead of Trevor Bauer. But the walk percentage is up at 12.7%. He has allowed 1.7 home runs per 9. So it's a really dangerous spot. And if he were to get lower ownership, I could see getting there, but not really a spot that I want to be, overweight on if he's going to be owned by a quarter of the field.
Yeah, I'd prefer Keuchel if the ownership is 26 to 5.
I hate Dallas Keuchel in DFS, but at that ownership, I would agree with you.
I mean, I wouldn't be like super happy about it because I don't really like him either, but I mean, if he's gonna they're the same price on Yahoo, and it's 22 to 3 in ownership.
Yeah, really weird stat too that surprises me. But the Cubs have the second highest strikeout percentage against left-handed pitching this year, 26.3%. They only have a 90 WRC plus, 312 WOBA. Not sure I expect that to continue. I mean, you're talking about a lineup that has Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, Contreras, and then some other right-handed bats toward the bottom with Bodie and Russell and Almora. But so far they've really struggled. Wonder what happens if I go back to last year too.
Do you like bats?
Do you know?
Jesus, I don't know what to do with this game. Sorry, it's just boggling my mind.
Yeah, I like Braves power, especially Freddie Freeman. But like at first base, I would rather have Olsen.
Same.
If I'm taking a one-off, I think the Braves are a high upside stack just because Darvish walks so many. Like Darvish walks guys, he strikes them out, and he gives up home runs. So that's a pretty boomer bust stack right there.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Cubs since last season, their active roster still now we're at 2,023 plate appearances, 23.7% strikeout percentage, which is 7th highest, 100 WRC plus. So a surprisingly decent matchup for Keuchel.
Yeah, and getting totally slept on might be a spot to pay closer attention to.
How many pitches did he throw? I'm trying to get it pulled up now, but I don't know if you know. How many pitches did he throw in his first start?
69.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, man.
Oh.
I didn't tip you off. You think that was just fate that it was 69? Did you get to it yet?
Yeah.
He threw 69?
99.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I have got that weird dyslexia thing where it flips numbers upside down.
Yeah, 5 innings, 99 pitches. So, I mean, fully stretched out. He sucked. Like, it was Washington, and it's Dallas Keuchel. But I don't know. At that ownership, I think he's kind of interesting.
I don't know what to do in this game. I would say Keuchel is probably the best option of anything just because of his ownership for GPPs. What's your favorite bat in this game?
Freeman.
Okay. Probably Acuna for me.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
I do like Freeman. Lefty power sucks in Chicago. Just kind of scary. It's just a weird game. I probably like both first basemen in the Phillies Mets game more.
Darvish's splits this season. He struck out 30.7% of righties. He's allowed a 148 ISO. He struck out 21.8% of lefties with a 234 ISO.
Free Nick Markakis today, I guess.
That's a good call. Brian McCann also.
Yeah. God, I can't believe. I feel like Brian McCann is 75 years old. I feel like he was like Greg Maddox's personal catcher.
Did he play with Maddox? I feel like he did.
I have no idea, and I should know that. He's just been in the league so long, 2005. So I would say no. At that point, Maddox was probably already on the Cubs or the Pods or something.
Right.
His last Braves year, so obviously 2005 for the Braves. Maddox
went to the Cubs in 04.
Okay. So missed him. It's a shame. When did Glavine hang it up? When did he end up bailing from Atlanta?
He went back to the Braves too, didn't he?
Just for the last year when he was 42 years old.
Yeah.
He left Atlanta in 2002, so now McCann didn't cross him up at all. Wonder if he caught Steve Avery.
I was looking at Smoltz, but the page won't load.
Yeah. Smoltz for sure. He would
I'm pretty sure
bullpen and shit.
Yeah.
And then back in the starting rotation. Man, what a career. What a career. Anything else for Cubs Braves?
Smoltz made 33 starts for the Braves in 05, 35 starts for the Braves in 06, and 32 starts for the Braves in 07.
Should have never retired. He was still like cruising, right? Maybe not cruising is. Maybe that's not the right word.
I mean, he had an ERA 3.5 or below in all three of those seasons.
His last year was 6.35.
Oh yeah, he was brutal that year.
But Sierra 3.62, so
yeah,
xFIP 377. I mean, he wasn't like totally washed. K rate took a nosedive though. Still had the control.
I think he was hurt too, if I remember.
He was also 42 years old,
right?
So.
Yeah. Anyway, what was your question?
Should we move on?
What'd you say?
Should we move on?
Oh yeah.
The question was, should we stop doing this? Wait, yeah. Steve Avery. Oh, I get it. Did you see Jake's message?
No.
Jake said Steve Avery of Manitowoc County or whatever. I forget how to say it. The killer guy from Making a Murderer.
Oh.
Different Steve Avery. Steve Avery was supposed to be Maddox and Glavine and Smoltz, but he's the one that washed out while the other three became first ballot Hall of Famers. Too bad. Steve Avery was my dude. I still have his starting lineup figure in here. What'd you say?
Denny Nagel went to high school like 25 minutes from where I grew up.
Nice.
He actually would still, like, when he was kind of trying to come back, he would like throw bullpens at the same like indoor place that we would do our workouts in high school.
God, can you imagine? I can't imagine getting like broken off by a major league pitcher like once they're in. It's got to be so brutal. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, one of Joe Rogan's, talking about how there was potential for Roy Jones Jr. to fight Michael B. Jordan, and they were just like, dude, just don't do that. Like, it doesn't matter how old Roy Jones is at this point. You could think that you're all swole because you were in Black Panther and stuff, but he's going to fuck you up. Like, just get out of there, man. Which is very, very, very true. Okay. Angels and Reds. Angels 4.8 run implied total. Reds 4.6. Jake says alleged killer. Yes, alleged killer. 52% chance to win for the Angels, 4.8 and 4.6 runs respectively. So I have Jaime Barria. Is that right?
That's what I have.
Okay. Tanner Roark going for the Reds. I don't get the sense that I'm going to have either guy, but are you paying down to 6,900 for Barria?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So no pitching then here, I would imagine.
Not planning on it.
Okay. Perfect.
Is Berea even stretched out? He threw so he threw 92 pitches on June 6th.
Yeah.
I assume he's been starting at AAA.
Yeah, I gave him 5 innings here, so.
So I mean, it's not like it's a bad matchup. The Reds do strike out a lot, but not really an exciting spot. Or not an exciting pitcher.
So then we've got Angels and Reds from a bats perspective. Reds, pretty chalky, actually. Second most owned stack. So let's start there. How do you feel about the Reds? Because I think they are overowned.
Probably overowned. Berea's actually really good at limiting left-handed power in particular. He has a good changeup that does a good job of that. And so guys like Winker, Votto, and Dietrich probably do end up being overowned just because everyone's going to go to the platoon advantage. And then from the right side, you don't have that much power. Like I think Suarez is an interesting play. Suarez is a really interesting like one-off because you get him he has plenty of power. Berea gives up more power to righties. And you can kind of grab Suarez or Senzel or Puig out of the middle of like the popular red stacks. And, if you get a home run or two from those guys, but the Reds overall fail, then you're in a really good spot.
It's not like anybody on the team is getting crazy ownership. It's 5 guys in like the low 10 to 12 range. And then it just falls off a cliff for like Senzel and Puig and Iglesias. So it's just weird. I can't. They're so cheap at the top. To get 3 bats, including a first baseman and a third baseman, under 4K on DraftKings is really rare.
Yeah. Especially when it's not like it's a terrible spot.
Yeah. Like I prefer the Angels to the Reds, which is interesting to me since they're getting less ownership. I'll always take anything in that Trout, Ohtani, Upton core. But what do you like coming from LA here against Roark?
The price tags on the Angels lefties are really, really appealing. 4K for La Stella, 4,500 for Ohtani, 3,900 for Calhoun. So you get you prefer the lefties against Roark anyway. You get affordable price tags on those guys, and then Trout is Trout. Upton is inexpensive for the amount of power that he has.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the Angels for sure.
Yeah, they're they're 5th for me right now. I'm happy to be there. I expect to be over that number over that 6% aggregate number on DraftKings. Let's see. Any prices that stand out? Eugenio Suarez is $10 on Yahoo. That's really appealing. That is way too low. Favorite bat in this game?
Ohtani.
Mine might be Suarez, honestly.
I mean, he's in the conversation for me.
Yeah. 3,700 on DK, 3,100 on FanDuel, $10 on Yahoo. He might just be a couple $100 underpriced. So there you go, Jake. That one's for you. Suarez is Jake's boy.
What's I'm looking now to see what Ohtani's numbers are at since he started off this year slow. But like since last season against righties, because I assume we still have like a $4,500 hitter with a 300 ISO.
Seems about right. I mean, even starting slow, he's got a 121 weighted runs created plus this season. I can only imagine that he just rakes righties.
Yeah, 401 WOBA, 159 WRC plus, 305 ISO.
Yeah, he's put that slow start behind him at this point.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it moving. Astros and Pirates. 5.6 run implied total for the Stros, 3.8 for the Pirates, 67% chance to win for Houston. Framber Valdez going for the Stros. Good Jesus, who are these people? Dario Agrazal going for the Pirates. Okay. Agrazal, no ownership. Valdez, 5% ownership on DK. Do you anticipate having either one of these guys?
Probably not. The Pirates are worse from a production standpoint against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching, but still a low strikeout percentage. Valdez isn't a high strikeout guy either. He struck out 26.5% this season, but that's not where I think we should expect him to be based on minor league numbers and stuff like that. So not a whole lot of interest there. And then Agrazal at 5,300. I mean, he's an okay pitcher, I think. It is obviously a really tough matchup. It's a really appealing price point. I don't think I'll get there. The caveat being just that he's 5,300 and there's not many of those on the slate.
No, there are not. I have him projected for 8 fantasy points today. Just not a very good player that I can tell. No strikeout upside
Yep.
whatsoever. Taking on a Houston team that is almost back to normal. I just can't do it.
Yeah, he's a low walk, high ground ball guy,
Hmm.
but not a lot of strikeouts.
That said, I don't really like the Astros from a hitting perspective. That feels crazy to me, but I don't get the sense that I'm going to have them. They're kind of chalky, so I'm probably very wrong here, but I'm hoping you just tell me that you're on the same page.
I don't know. Their price tags are pretty appealing. Everyone on the team on DraftKings is sub 5K except for Jordan Alvarez, and I'm more than willing to pay for him. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm probably a little higher on the Astros than you.
Yeah, where are they in ownership? They are third on DraftKings right now, but they'll probably be my biggest hitting fade, and I'm sort of at a loss for why.
Yeah, I
Implied
don't know. Like
total
looking
looks
at
great. I don't have anything that stands out. It's just going to be one of those days where I think that there's better pricing elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't run crunches yet, but kind of just looking at my top raw point projected hitters, Altuve, like the highest Astro is like my 10th or 11th. So I don't know. Maybe I do come in a little bit lower than I'm expecting.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've got Springer, Altuve, Bregman, and Alvarez all in double digits on DK. A
Yeah,
little bit lower on
and I mean, if
FanDuel.
you're the reasoning behind if you're looking not to have the Astros, the reasoning would be that Agrizal is very good at getting ground balls.
Yeah.
At AAA this season, he had a 54.3% ground ball percentage. Last season at AA, he was at 49.6%. So yeah, I mean, that would I guess be the case for not having the Astros.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be there. Favorite Astros bat for me is probably Springer, although if Altuve continues to still just be 4,100, it makes it really hard to ignore that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's Altuve at that price.
Yeah. Yeah, relative to that salary and it being second base, that's a real tough one to ignore. Any Pirates bats at all for you? Gong is $7 on Yahoo if that's interesting.
Yeah, he's 2,800 on DraftKings too. So Gone certainly, just as a value guy. I wish Osuna was a little bit cheaper, but he's not. So it's Gong, and then if you get any Josh Bell, that's obviously fine because Josh Bell is an absolute monster.
I might have to stack up some Pirates here. They're one of the teams that I don't have a home run from in the DraftKings home run contest.
I thought I might not get there because I looked at that the other day and I had 28 teams, and the two I didn't have were the Marlins and the Orioles. I was like,
I don't have the Orioles either.
Yeah, I was like, for one, I don't play these guys, and for two, they don't hit home runs. But then I got them both on like the same day. So.
I have Orioles, Pirates, and I can't remember who, but I play the Orioles a lot, so that one surprised me. And the Rockies, which
How do you not have a Rockies?
I have no idea, but you would think that would be a really easy one to pick up. Yeah, no Rockies, which is I did when my parents are here, I did kind of take like a week off of any legitimate play, so there's that. But yeah, not getting a Rocky is kind of tough to do. All right, let's get out of this game. 2 to go here. Brewers and Mariners. 4.9 run implied total for the. I think I'm making this entire lineup. I don't think any part of this exists at this point.
I don't have a line.
Right. I have 4-9 Brewers, 4-1 Mariners, but we're just shrugging our shoulders. So Adrian Hauser for the Brewers.
Yep.
Wade LeBlanc for the Mariners.
Oh, that's what I was. So at the beginning of the show, I was like, I need to pull up Hauser's stuff and see where he's at pitch count wise, and then I totally forgot to do that.
I gave him 2.5 innings, and he's 5,700. He's going to need more than that.
Yeah, I mean, he threw 11 pitches on the 22nd. He threw 33 on the 19th, 33 on the 15th. He hasn't thrown 50 pitches since at least May 21st. Yeah. So, yeah, I wish that he was stretched out. I was hoping that I'd see that they'd send him to AAA for 2 weeks or something.
No, unfortunately not the case. So I assume we're not playing any pitching here?
No, not playing LeBlanc.
No. Brewers are my number 2 stack right now, so let's start there. I love them. They're not getting all that much ownership. 11, 12, and 12 to Grandal, Yelich, and Braun. Those are the three highest numbers on DraftKings. Now, they are chalky on FanDuel. Second most ownership behind the Reds. How do you want to handle the Brew Crew here against Wade LeBlanc?
I really like Milwaukee. Obviously the park is good, and LeBlanc's a pitcher who doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, and he relies on getting fly balls to like the front of the warning track. That's harder to get in Milwaukee. But also his strikeout numbers go up against lefties, but the power numbers are still pretty healthy. Since last season, he's allowed a 184 ISO to lefties, 185 to righties, and so guys like Yelich and Moustakas, are still perfectly fine plays. But then you get, an underpriced Braun, Grandal as a, pay up option at catcher. Aguilar is really cheap. Perez is really cheap. RC has made some improvements this year as a hitter. I like them because I think that people will get to Milwaukee, like you had said, but from a point per dollar projection standpoint, it's kind of hard to. Like Grandal is not as good a point per dollar play as JT Realmuto for $1,000 less.
Right.
So that should keep his ownership, somewhat in check. Moustakas and Yelich are expensive and lefty. So at least one of those guys is probably going to be left out of a lot of stacks.
6% Moustakas right now ownership.
Right. And then at the bottom of the order, people aren't going to play Orlando Arcia.
Nope.
They're not going to play a ton of Hernan Perez. So it's just a team that I think, even if there is a high percentage of Brewer stacks, there's a lot of different ways to make a Brewer stack.
Yeah, I love them. I expect them to be one of my top few stacks. I will certainly be over the field on DK. On FanDuel, where they're getting a little bit more love and have more reasonable price tags, and you're only trying to get 4 of them, I understand why their stack numbers go up. They are hella chalky on Yahoo as well. 30% going to Ryan Braun at $11, 19% ownership to Aguilar at the flat minimum, which is a fantastic play in the GPP. It's just really hard to not like the Brewers across the board. The other question is, do you have any interest in Mariners bats? My answer would be no.
Yeah, not a ton. It's kind of the same answer as yesterday. It is a nice park shift for them, and they do have a lot of lefties in Miller Park, which is great. Yeah. The problem that I have is just that they're not a very good offense, but they're priced like they're a bunch of lefties hitting in Miller Park.
Yeah.
And so that makes it tough, because it would be one thing if, on DraftKings, if this whole lineup were, 3,700 or something, and Vogelbach and Santana were a little bit more expensive. But instead, they're all like 4,300, and then Vogelbach and Santana are pushing 5K. So you're getting a contrarian stack, I would think, because they're just not as talented as a lot of other offenses that are priced in that range. But I prefer getting to spots like that where it's getting me something else, like getting me better one-offs or getting me better pitching. Instead, I'm still sacrificing somewhere, and I'm just stacking the Mariners instead of other good teams.
Makes perfect sense to me. I don't mind Kyle Seager as a one-off third base option, 4,100, not too bad. Has enough power that this could play up really well in Milwaukee. But I don't get the sense that I'll be stacking up Seattle all that much. It's a weird slate, man. Perfect time for everybody to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Coming up later today, we will have the deeper dive, Laffy, Adam, and the boss man, Alex Baker. Final Awesemo show for this week for Alex. He won't be able to join us for the Friday Yahoo show, so you won't get him again until Monday for the deeper dive. So tune into that. Myself and Chris Spags will be live before lock from 6 to 7. And then tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Ben Rasa, Jason Roslin talking Rocket Mortgage Classic. I'm so happy that rolls off the tongue now. So they'll be live for an hour for quote-unquote PGA Live before lock, so tune into that as well. Ready to close this out? Main slate, final game?
Yep.
Twins and Rays, 4.5 on both sides. Coin flip game. Jake Odorizzi going for Minnesota. Charlie Morton going for the Rays. Morton, 6% ownership on Yahoo, 3 on FanDuel, 11 on DraftKings. Odorizzi, 12% on the two pitcher sites, 3% on FanDuel. Let's start with this one. Who do you like more in this game, Odorizzi or Morton? And then how do you like them with regards to this slate?
I like Odorizzi more just because Tampa Bay is the better strikeout matchup. They're an above-average offense. They have a 112 WRC plus against right-handed pitching, but they also have struck out 23.2% of the time, which is 10th highest. Also, most of the good bats on Tampa that you'd be really concerned about, Lau, Choi, Meadows, Kiermaier, are left-handed. And Odorizzi has been just lights out against lefties this year. 31.3% strikeout percentage, 302 WOBA, .076 ISO. He's been good against righties, but just absolutely dominating lefties, which is something that we saw frequently early in his career. And you can look to probably his splitter as being a reason why. So I think that there's just better strikeout potential for Odorizzi against the Rays.
Don't disagree. I see these guys as really, really close.
Yeah, I agree.
On FanDuel, where they're separated by $300, it makes me a little bit more interested in Odorizzi, but neither guy getting any real love. They're separated by $7 on Yahoo. Odorizzi getting more ownership than Morton. I agree with that take. On DK, I would probably lean a little bit to Morton, but ultimately, I probably am going to have both of these guys. I expect to get a little bit more a little bit more Morton, simply because I like the Rays more than I like the Twins. But otherwise, it's just two solid pitchers. And it's complicating matters because they're just sort of like blah, like the other guys at the top of this, the Matt Boyds, the Mike Miners. All these guys fit that same sort of mold.
Yeah, they're all pretty similar, and both of these guys have tough matchups. For Morton, it's a Minnesota offense that's really good and that doesn't strike out a ton. Working in his favor is that you probably do have left-handed heavy Minnesota lineup. Yeah. He's been better against lefties for a few years now. And then on the other side, like Tampa's a good offense, getting a park boost going into Minnesota. They do strike out a bit more than the Twins, so that's just like the tiebreaker for me.
What do you want to do with bats in this game? Do you think you'll be stacking it up at all?
Probably not too much, but I do like the price tags on both sides. Considering just how good these two offenses are, they are affordable. I have a ton of respect for both pitchers, especially Morton. But when you're getting to like a $4,400 Tommy Pham, $4,400 Brandon Lau, $4,600 Meadows, $4,100 Garcia, that's giving you a lot of upside at, I assume, low ownership.
Yeah.
Where you can also fit in good pitching and some good one-offs.
Yeah, I prefer the Rays to the Twins just slightly. The prices are just fantastic. Lau and Choi at the top, two lefty bats, very cheap. You're getting two infield positions, really easy to get to. And then, it's always not too big of a struggle to grab some Twins power bats. They're up and down the lineup.
Yeah. Odorizzi probably should be giving up some more home runs too, especially to righties. This season so far, he's allowed a 102 ISO to righties, but a 220 expected ISO. His expected WOBA is over 100 points higher than his actual WOBA to righties as well. And in the past, he's had power issues with righties. And then also, if you look at his home runs per nine, he's only allowed 0.67 home runs per 9 innings this season, but he has a 6.3% home run per fly ball percentage compared to his career average of 10.3%. So he's pretty clearly running good on home runs, and it looks like it's mostly running good against righties.
Bringing the deets, man. I appreciate it. 9 games up, 9 games down. Keep a close look on everything as we get closer to lock. Do you have any early slate thoughts? I just pulled up the sheet right now.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay, perfect. 9 games up, 9 games down. I just opened up my early slate sheet. If you want to give some early slate thoughts, taking a look at DK. Now, this is where all the arms are. When I first loaded everything up, I was like, ooh, pitching's loaded. Turns out They all play in the morning. Chris Sale, Trevor Bauer, Erman Marquez, James Paxton, and then Dylan Bundy, the 5th most expensive pitcher, and I completely agree with it. Anybody standing out to you more so than the others?
I mean, Chris Sale.
Yes, agreed.
The guy going for the Dodgers is one of their top pitching prospects. He has struck out 27.2% of hitters at AAA this year. He's walked 11%, but he's kind of interesting because people probably won't pay that much attention to him.
They shouldn't.
Why?
Does not pitch deep in games.
Okay.
Like, really not deep in games. Unless I type this in.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's thrown 26 innings in 8 starts.
Yeah. Yeah, he will not. He will not be going deep. I don't disagree with the way that you described him, but I don't think from a DFS perspective he's viable enough. If he
Well, I mean, it's
were
not like
4K or something,
Dodgers have a history of pulling pitchers early.
right. I guess it probably wouldn't matter all that much. Do you have
He
a guy that you want to?
throw-
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so it looks like he's kind of been getting like ramped up though. So his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, his last 6 starts, 16 pitches, 35 pitches, 44 pitches, 52 pitches, 63 pitches, 77 pitches.
He's getting
I
there.
think, yeah, I bet he's allowed to throw like 85, 90 today.
I would say that 75 is probably like the realistic ceiling here.
He got hurt too, I'm pretty sure.
That's not better.
No. I'm saying that's why his innings pitched in the minors are so low. So his first start of the season, he threw 70 pitches. His second start of the season, he threw 70 pitches. Then he missed a month and a half. And if you look on minor league baseball, if you go to his player page, his status, it says reserve list, which clearly he's not, but he was at that point. But then that stretch of starts that I read off, like progressively increasing up to 77 last start, are all of his starts since coming back from injury. So basically, he got hurt after 2 starts, went on the injured list, and then came back, and they just slowly bumped him up. So I'm not putting any stock into the innings, like how limited he's been in the minors this year.
I mean, I'm putting enough stock into it that I don't want to pay $6,800 for him on a wild card.
But I mean, like, so what is there to suggest that he's going to throw less than 77 pitches?
I can put him in here for 5.5 innings, and I still think he's not a good option at his price tag.
Oh, okay, see, I would probably...
Matt Strahm is 6K. I'd rather have Strahm based on any...
Wow, yeah, okay, I missed that.
Yeah, it's just...
I like Samardzija, too.
So do I. I'd rather have Jacob Junis probably at 66. But
yeah.
I'm always high on Junis. But I'd rather have Samardzija than Tony Gonsolin.
Yeah.
His price is just not realistic for like the dream scenario you need out of it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think he gives us like 80 plus pitches.
Yeah, that would not shock me at all. I would guess that I'll slowly use him more if he's up in each successive start, but not today at that price tag. Pick between Bauer, Marquez, and Paxton, and then we'll get out of here.
Bauer, Marquez, and Paxton. I mean, I want to say Bauer, but no, it would be Paxton. He's the cheapest out of the group. He's facing Toronto. I think he's better than the rest of those guys too. Second highest strikeout percentage on the slate behind Sale, facing the Blue Jays at the cheapest price point.
Paxton, 42% ownership on the early slate right now for DK. Sale, 45. Trevor Bauer, 24. Matt Strahm, 21. Jeff Samardzija, 20. Taylor Clark, 20. German Marquez, 19.
Taylor Clark, 20?
Taylor Clark, 20.
There's no way that holds. But if he's 20% against the Dodgers, like, get as much money on this slate as you can.
Yeah. Dodgers going to be looking pretty damn tasty in that scenario.
God, he's not even 4K. Like, I mean, he's 5K, but for him to be 20%, I assumed they'd like run like a gimmick and made him $0 or something.
Favorite stacks? Then we'll get out of here.
Dodgers.
Yep.
Even without that ownership, like I love the Dodgers there. I think Taylor Clark is really bad.
Yeah.
Red Sox. Yankees might be. I mean, the Yankees obviously are always a really high upside stack, but
no Stanton, by the way.
Yeah, I hate Stanton. Yankees are always a really high upside stack, but Thornton does have pretty extreme splits where he's a lot better against righties. So, not that I'd be upset if I get to the Yankees, but I think that it's at least worth pointing out that maybe a little bit worse spot than that 6.3 total suggests.
Yeah, they are projected to absolutely bludgeon the Blue Jays. You know, having James Paxton going for the Yanks certainly helping out in that regard, but
yeah. I mean, on the other hand, their implied run totals a run and a half lower than yesterday.
Yeah, that is true. I love seeing these games where you can take a team on the run line and they're still like minus 160.
Yeah. But yeah, the Dodgers really stand out. I just don't think Clark is any good. And I think the Dodgers, of course, are very, very good.
You and I are on the same page there.
Group being close doesn't help, though.
You did not mention the Padres, but they are probably my favorite team on the early slate.
The Padres are what?
Probably my favorite team on the early slate.
Oh.
No, you're not feeling it? 5.3 run implied total?
Bundy's got like a 30+% strikeout percentage against righties, and all the Padres have is a ton of right-handed power that strikes out.
That seems more like a reason to like Bundy than not like the Padres. I don't care if they strike out. I don't care. I don't care about their mechanism of outs.
Okay, no, but I'm saying, like, to me, the Padres are more appealing as like one-offs and mini stacks than as a full stack, because unless they're able to get to the Orioles, garbage bullpen, I think the most likely outcome is that they don't get a lot of base runners and they hit a couple like solo shots.
Maybe. Tatis is so expensive.
Why is Machado questionable?
I don't know.
Is that still his suspension? Did they rule on that yet?
I have no idea. I pay attention to it the same way you do. We find out about it when he gets pulled out of the lineup.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I really like that. Those first five, Tatis, Hosmer, Machado, noted slugger Hunter Renfroe, and then Franmil Reyes at 3,900. Just feels really easy to get to in Baltimore. And obviously we know that Dylan Bundy does from time to time give up home runs.
Yeah, once in a while. Hedges at 2,900 is a great value. Reyes at 3,900 is a great value. And then, Tatis, Machado, and Renfroe, I have no issues with. I just wouldn't have them. Like, I would say, as far as favorite stacks go, San Diego for me is behind the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Yankees, probably the Indians. Yeah.
I expect them to be my most owned stack on DK, but let me just look to see where the aggregate ownership is.
I also haven't crunched anything yet, so I will be sure to Slack chat if I end up with like millions of Padres.
Okay, so they are the chalk on DraftKings. So I'm a little bit less enamored. The top three stacks are Pods, Yankees, and Red Sox. 20%, 17, and 16% respectively. Unfortunately for me, those are also my top three, so that makes for like a non-fun way to hash that all out. But
yeah, what's Bundy's projected ownership?
Bundy is at 2.
I'm gonna have so much freaking Bundy today.
Lucky you.
I see some drinks at lunch in my future.
You might as well just start now.
Right.
Sounds like a Guinness for breakfast is on the docket.
It'll help me get as much Bundy in as I want, and then I can just keep going when he starts giving up the home runs.
Or they become celebratory.
Right, exactly. Either way.
Win-win.
Yeah. The moral here is drinking is always good.
So yeah, Bundy. I'll just read them off. Who cares? Sale and Paxton are both in the 40s. Bauer at 24, Marquez at 19, and then you get to Bundy at 2. 20 to Samardzija, 21 to Strahm, 20 to Taylor Clark. Brian Him, why don't they talk about the early slate? Not really sure how you can drop that question.
Right
Literally
now?
The most recent message in YouTube chat. even YouTube chat's going at him now.
I was gonna say we're on a delay, but we're not on like a 3-minute delay.
Yeah. You tuning into the beginning? Also, we went over twice why we don't really talk about the early slate. To start the show and in the middle of the show. Dude, 20% Taylor Clark, 20% Jeff Samardzija. This early one's going to be fantastic. Meanwhile, you're going to send me a screenshot at 1:06 p.m. Eastern time with like 87% Dylan Bundy.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that is nuts. The 20%. So I had the Dodgers as my fourth stack. They're basically tied with the Red Sox for third. Just seeing that 20% number next to the Dodgers line, knowing what Taylor Clark is at, makes me wonder how much Dodgers will really show up, because it might be like 40% in the aggregate.
Do you have Taylor Clark's numbers against lefties in front of you?
I certainly don't. I mean, clearly I know how to get to them.
Do you want to guess what? No, I mean, I have them in front of me.
I won't search them.
Guess within 50 points what his ISO allowed the lefties is this year.
How many batters?
360 pitches.
Okay, that's fine. I was just making sure that it wasn't like 64 or
No,
something like that. And you're like, oh, it's 800.
Close. No, I mean, it's a small sample, but it's still.
ISO to lefties?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's got to be north of 4.
No, not quite, but 319.
Okay.
423 WOBA.
Oh my God.
To righties, he's a lot better though. 386 WOBA and 286 ISO.
I mean, it's good then that the Dodgers don't really have any lefty bats.
Yeah, and the ones they have don't really have a lot of power.
No. I haven't really seen guys like Cody Bellinger and Max Muncy and Jock Peterson hit home runs. Those seem like really rare occurrences.
Yeah, and I mean, just as a caveat to people, like, it's a really small sample. Like, the numbers aren't going to be that bad, and if they are, he's not going to be in the majors very long. I also don't expect him to be in the majors very long, but yeah, like, he's just been really bad. Did you see? Have you seen the women running out on the field to hug Cody Bellinger?
No.
So that's happened twice now. In the last like week or two, like a woman just runs out on the field. The first one, like they interviewed Bellinger about it after. She like runs out to right field and she goes up to him and is like, "I want to give you a hug," and like hugs him, and then security like tackles her. And he said that her and was like, "You know, you're going to jail, right?" And she looked back and said it was worth it.
Who's the? What, do you remember the name of the chick that used to run out all the time? She was she had big ones. It was like a gimmick.
No.
Probably the late 80s, maybe it was the 90s. She was just like the chick that always ran out onto the field. God, I can't remember what her name was.
Yeah, so like that happened in LA, and then I think it was the first game of this Diamondback series, like in Arizona, where actually Bellinger's from. Some girl just like ran out on the field, ran up to him, and then got taken off by security again.
Morgana, the kissing bandit.
Oh, I've heard of her. I never knew who she was.
One of her early conquests was Frank Howard. When she reached up to smooch the 6'7" slugger, her miniskirt rode up, resulting in partial exposure of her buttocks. First time she went on was to kiss Pete Rose in 1971, so it looks like I am a little bit late in my guess. Yeah. But she's married with no children. Other recipients of Morgana's osculatory advances. Who's writing this? George Brett, Cal Ripken, Johnny Bench, Steve Garvey, Don Mattingly, Dickie Thon, Nolan Ryan, Steve Yeager, Len Barker, Dwayne Ward, Charles Barkley.
That's that stands out.
Is it like a celebrity softball game? What's happening here? Incredible. All right, that's it. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Subscribe to the channel. We will be in Slack. I'll be in Slack for, I don't know, the rest of the afternoon to prep for this early slate. We have plenty of content coming up for the 9-game main slate. PGA Live Before Lock coming up tonight. Lofty will have the deep dive out in the early afternoon. Adam, am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
Perfect. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Do all of that good stuff over and over again. Just go back and like old videos. Even that'll help. Just do whatever you need to do to help us out. We appreciate it a ton. Thanks for joining us. Tomorrow morning, Jake and Lofty will be here breaking down the Thursday slate. So, tune into that. Adios, everybody.